Share my screen, just tab. Awesome. Andrew, can you confirm for me? You can see my screen. That way I know everybody else is good.
Yep. Coming through clear.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody, to Product Camp Dallas's first ever webinar/talk. We're still coming up with a name for it. I'm so grateful that you're here to join us today. I'm going to go ahead and jump in there. Kind of the first, rhetorical question I have: who loves data? One of the things that we want to do is we want to understand, as we're reaching out to speakers, what are the topics that people are really looking to hear from. So we're going to start our day off with a survey, actually. So CJ, if you could add that link to the chat, that would be great. And there's also a second link that we'll share shortly after that one. We're looking for speakers. So if you want to give up here and give a talk, practice your craft, we've got a second form for that as well. Awesome. So the first question you should see is, how did you hear about this event?
It's probably easiest to go through the Menti link, but you can also go to menti.com and use the code. And so that Menti link is in both of the.
Oh, snap. There's my Walmart people. Clayburns. Hey, CJ, is there a separate link for the other question?
You can progress the deck after you want to close the.
LinkedIn, strong representation. Very nice.
Yeah, just use the use your arrow keys and use your right-hand arrow when you're finished, when you want to close this.
Oh, thank you.
By the way, even though we've switched screens, we are still collecting poll results. So even if we've moved on, please continue to vote.
Cool. Do you see anything coming in for the topics?
Yes.
Awesome. Yep, I see it now.
Whoever said product duel, I love that idea. I don't know what it is, but I want it.
Yeah, I want to know what that is as well. Sounds fun.
How to love a product you hate. Oh, man, that's got to be a good one. Cool. While you are doing that, CJ, I can't tell. Go ahead and drop the speaker link. If you've done filling out the first form, that speaker link, just bookmark that. And if you have any interest in speaking at a webinar, we would love to hear you speak. And we can even help you, come up with topics or game plan on what that looks like. So you're not necessarily alone in doing that. Chaos to order. Awesome. I think we've spent enough time there. I want to do a quick shout out to our sponsors. We would not be able to do this without them. Pragmatic has been with us since the beginning. Sequent has actually been with us for about 2 years now, I think. And then ProdPad is also one of our sponsors. So quick shout out, thank you to them. You may hear from us through them, meaning sometimes they offer discounts to our attendees. We don't share your email with them, but you may see an email on behalf of them from us with discount codes and stuff. Cool. So real quick, get connected. I'm not sure how you found us. I'm sure the survey results will tell us that. But typically, this is where you can hear from us. It's on Twitter, LinkedIn. We'll do a newsletter. And then we actually started a YouTube channel probably about a couple months ago. So please check that out. Our last unconference, we have a ton of content on there. Andrew Miller, who you're going to hear from today, actually has a separate talk he did on there as well. So just real quick, stay on the lookout. So there's a couple of Product Camp things happening that may interest you. The first one is Product Camp Online. It's going to happen around June. That's not our camp, but it is within our brother and sisterhood of camps. So feel free to check that out. We'll be having our unconference early fall. We're still trying to figure out, is that in person? Is that hybrid? What the date is? We should know that in probably the next month or two. And then something that we are going to partake in, or at least looking at, is Product Camp USA. So this is another one. It'll be kind of online style, but go to any of those websites to learn more about that. Awesome. This is the fun part, group selfie. So Run the World has this cool feature where you get to do a group selfie. Ends up creating a picture like this. We thought it was really cool. You'll actually get an email of this picture. It's totally optional, but I'm going to go ahead and click some buttons within Run the World. You should get a pop-up to take a selfie. Feel free to do it. If you don't, you can just deny it, but you'll just miss out on this cool picture. So let me stop sharing. Oh. All right, where is... Oh, oops. Okay, it's coming through. Awesome. Andrew, if you didn't notice, man, your mustache inspired me, so I started growing it out this week.
Oh, wonderful. It's looking great. Nice. I am uploading my selfie now.
Yeah, awesome.
I look sufficiently goofy. I like it.
Yeah. Awesome. Up to 8, up to 9. Awesome. They're coming in. Real quick while we're waiting, really after this, we're going to turn it over to Andrew and get started. Just 2 notes. One, there is going to be a Q&A afterwards. Please drop those comments or questions. Please drop those questions in the comments. CJ and myself will be watching for those, and then we'll have a bit of Q&A. And they're also going to do, Run World has a networking feature called a cocktail party, and it's basically one-on-one networking. And so we are going to, have a networking session at the end of this if that's something you want to stay on for. $17 people, not bad. That's more than 50%. That's pretty good. Awesome. I think we're about, okay, I'm going to call it. Yes. Awesome. All right, Andrew, I turn it over to you.
Cool. Okay. Get a little screen share. Okay. Thanks for inviting me. My name's Andrew. The talk tonight is about really just my experience the past month joining a new organization, and some of the learnings I've had along the way, and how I've tried to approach that. So a little bit about myself. I'm a senior PM at Bestow, which is an insurtech company, insurtech, fintech. We have offices in Dallas and Austin, and I've been in software in various capacities for a little over a decade and been doing product work for about 3.5 years. The way that I got into product is by way of engineering and then UX design, and then finally I found product, and I was so grateful. It was kind of like, this is what I've been looking for this whole time. So very happy to find product management. Setting some expectations. So a few things that this talk is definitely not a kind of playbook for your first month. One of the things I really appreciated about Marty Kagan's Inspired is that he really stayed away from offering playbooks. There's too much variety in the type of work we're doing to kind of give a step-by-step. And that gets to the next point. So it's also not a step-by-step on how to learn. I'm going to talk about how I've tried to learn the past month. But, everyone learns differently, and this is just my story. So what is the scope? Trying to capture kind of an honest account of the past month. How I've tried to learn fast. There's a lot to uncover starting a new job, as I'm sure a lot of us know, and I'll talk about some specific approaches I've taken to try to ramp up quickly. So setting the stage a bit, I started about a month ago. Previously, I was at Modern Message, acquired by RealPage, which is a property tech company. So totally different industry. Now I'm in life insurance, insurtech, fintech. So the new job has come with a new industry, new organization, new team, and also I leveled up to senior. So I'm now a senior PM, which is great. That's exactly what I wanted, and that level up came with more responsibility. So a lot of new stuff all at once, and on top of that, some more responsibility. So just to kind of give some context, a coworker of mine actually took a video of me on the job during my first week, and this is what it looked like. Just clinging on to the fire hose, as hard as I can, arms and legs wrapped around, clutching for life. This GIF is truly amazing. I don't know how a situation like this occurs, but I have to know the story behind this. But this is a little bit what the first week felt like. So the first question that I was starting to ask myself, kind of the week leading up, is, what do I need to learn? I know I have to learn a lot of stuff. I want to be very intentional with what I'm learning. So I wanted to kind of think ahead and start to categorize what are some of the specific questions I need to answer, and how do I want to go about it. And I kind of landed on these 3 major buckets. So I had to learn the product, got to learn the organization, and got to learn the industry. So first, the product. What could that entail? It's some things that I was thinking about and still learning some of these. But, what's the tech stack? What's the general technology architecture? What are some common technical constraints? What are the major features of the product? What's the business model, sales model, value proposition, and positioning? Where are we in the product life cycle? What are some of the key analytics if they exist? What's the strategy, product vision, and the goals? Are there any OKRs in place? Who's the customer and who's our users? And if we have personas already established, what are the personas? On the organization side, it's questions like, who are my stakeholders? Who are the people, and what are their personalities? What's the different communication styles? how is the organization structured? What's the culture like? There's only so much of this that you can infer during the interview process. You kind of just have to live it and breathe it for a while. So what are the common decision-making frameworks? I've learned at my current place, unit economics is a very common framework by which we make decisions. Is the organization a product-led organization? Is it more sales-led, design-led, engineering? Again, you can only infer so much in interviews. What are some of the processes for building product? How are decisions made? What's the business strategy? What's the origin story or the history of the company? And this last one I think is interesting. So like who in the organization has been around for a really long time and kind of knows everything, right? These are really helpful people to know. On the industry side, it's questions like, what are the major types of actors or entities in the industry? In life insurance, you have customers, you have agents, you have administrators, you have carriers. The detail of these aren't so relevant to this talk, but the point is that every industry is going to have kind of these major entities that make the industry up. So figuring out what those are. What are the general industry economics? How is value created and consumed and distributed? What sort of competitors are out there? Are there any market trends that are interesting? Is the industry growing or shrinking or changing? How big is the market? How much of that market do we have? And this last one, this acronym PESTLE. So what's the impact of political or economic, social, technological, legal, or environmental factors? In my case, moving from prop tech to insurtech, there's a lot more government and legal factors at play than there were previously. So just new types of constraints. So in short, it's a lot. It's a lot of different things. Each one of those buckets is kind of its own world in a way. And, it takes time, but just kind of thinking through what are the main buckets that I want to learn and what are some of the more specific questions within each of those buckets is kind of how I have been going about it. So this is me, week 2. There's some changes here. It's getting a little bit better. I'm no longer kind of desperately clinging to the fire hose. I'm still underwater, but I've got 2 thumbs up, right? So things are getting better. The next question I kind of started asking myself is, who do I need to meet to learn what I'm trying to learn? All those questions on the previous slides. Who do I need to talk to figure this stuff out? So much of this type of work is talking to people and collaborating. It's hard to just kind of jump in and learn by doing sometimes. The way that you can do that if you're learning a tool, for example, but in this type of work and product, if you learn by doing all the time, you might run the risk of damaging a key relationship if you're kind of going the trial and error approach. You're going to have to move a little bit more cautiously. So learning through people and building trust along the way, I think is an interesting approach. I was lucky because my new boss, Adam, had put together a really helpful list, kind of like a checklist of people to meet. So that was really helpful if you are starting a new gig soon or if you have recently. Definitely ask for something like that from your manager. It helped me navigate things and my one-on-ones moving faster. So I put this together for a post. It's just kind of, back to the idea of who do I need to meet and in what order. So who do I need to meet in what order and in how often, and how often rather. So that's you in the middle. And if you kind of think of having these sort of 3 rings around you, the closest ring is your team. That's the people you work really, really close with on a daily basis. And then right outside of that is maybe your stakeholders that are really, really interested in the work you're doing. And then outside of that is kind of your lateral peers that you coordinate with, but you're not necessarily chatting with every single day. So the way that I went about it was, rather than starting from the center and moving out, I actually started in that middle ring, the stakeholders ring. And the reason for that is to kind of try to get a more of a strategic view first, and to try to really understand what my stakeholders were thinking. And then I moved on to setting one-on-ones up with my team, and I'm still going through the lateral peers step, because there's a lot of them. But then lastly, meeting my lateral peers, and each one of these is a rough about a 30-minute one-on-one meeting. I was talking to my friend Anthony about this process, and the way he put it, I thought was pretty interesting. He was like, "Oh yeah, so you manage up first, and then you manage down, and then you manage laterally." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's a pretty good way of putting it." So if that's another helpful model, you can take that one. So stakeholders, that's your manager and their manager and so on. What I try to do is I go as high up as I can. If you're at a small company like I am, about 130 people, all the way to the CEO makes sense. If you're at a really big company, just go as high as you can, probably. Meet anyone whose goals are directly impacted by your work, and vice versa. I was specifically asking my stakeholders how they understood my team to fit into the broader company strategy, because I really wanted to understand how they perceived and understood my team in that context, right? And I also wanted to understand how I personally and my team was positioned to help them be successful. And it's also been helpful for me to maintain a regular sync with most of my stakeholders, either weekly or bi-weekly, just varies. For the team, that's your immediate team. So engineers, PMs, designers, analysts, et cetera, on your immediate product team. For these folks, I was asking a lot about process. So still asking about strategy, but shifting more into tactical as well. You're trying to figure out how you're going to actually do the work together. So what's working in our process, what's not working, and also how can I add value to the team quickly? Are there any things that are kind of lacking within the team that I could help out with quickly? And I think these types of questions would be good to ask ongoing. It's not something that you just ask once when you first start, but you could ask this every month or every couple of months even. For maintaining syncs, agile ceremonies kind of take care of this, so daily or weekly, but I haven't had to create too many recurring syncs with my team because I do talk to them so often. Lateral peers, these are other people in your role that are on different teams, or just people that you'll coordinate with and collaborate with to achieve your goals, but might not be on your team. Questions that I'm interested in for these folks is understanding cross dependencies between the work that we're doing, understanding what areas of the product and the business that they own, so that I kind of know who to go talk to if that stuff comes up for me later. And also understanding how my team is positioned to help them be successful. So always kind of, pinning that question at the end of how can I help you? Like how am I uniquely positioned in this company to help you achieve your goals? And that can be really interesting. So I think with these folks, you're kind of learning how to navigate the organization, how to leverage resources outside of your team to be successful. And some kind of regular sync probably makes sense for a subset. And that's maybe a little less often, so bi-weekly or monthly even. And then there were some other comments that came through on LinkedIn that I thought were really great. So Moshe said, if your product is for internal users, then put those people high on your list. That's awesome. Lior said, I'd add the importance of lateral peers as insights, as they'll reveal things that your team and other stakeholders wouldn't. That's great. Ryan Edwards had a nice summary. So stakeholders understand the expectations, team understand your support system and how you glue everyone together. Lateral peers understand the practical departmental company workflow. It's a nice summary. So it's, lots of people, lots of information. If you're setting one-on-ones up with all these folks and you're kind of trying to go through that checklist of all of the things that you're trying to learn, it's definitely a lot. So this is me, week 3. As you can see, I'm no longer underwater. I'm dry, so that's cool. Looking a little bit crazed, but I'm in sense-making mode. I'm trying to connect the dots, There's just this huge influx of information from lots of different people, lots of different perspectives, and it's how does it all fit together? What's the mystery here?
Looks like you picked up smoking, Andrew. In your third picture.
Looks like I picked up smoking.
Because it's Charlie smoking.
Oh, week 3, I picked up everything, I'll tell you. But yeah, so how can I learn fast while building trust? This is one of the things I was thinking about when I was going through and meeting everyone. So I want to learn fast, but I also want to use the one-on-ones as an opportunity to build trust and build rapport, of course, So I put this together for a different post, calling it the simple self-guided learning loop. And I think this is something that a lot of us do very naturally anyways. It's helpful for me just to visualize things, and especially in cycles, that's very helpful for me. So starting with preparing and asking questions and then taking a bunch of notes, right? And then you're taking those notes and forming mental models, you're summarizing what you're hearing, and you're creating themes and tags, and then you're taking your learnings and you're reading them out to people, you're broadcasting them out, and whatever you get back, you're using that to refine and adjust your own understanding that leads to new questions, which leads to new mental models and so on. So it's this kind of ongoing cycle. Not all that dissimilar from going through, a user research process. So the first one, preparing and asking questions, I think, if what I was trying to do is basically, what do I want to learn this week, and writing questions down for that. Another thing I was doing is actually writing out interview guides for each of those 3 groups of people: stakeholders, team, and lateral peers. Each of those groups got a different interview guide with maybe like 5 questions each. And I asked the same questions to everyone. And especially strategic questions, it's really helpful to get a variety of perspectives to just see if everyone understands strategy the same way. If they don't, that's good to know. If they do, that's good to know as well. And also just so taking tons of notes. I wrote everything down on paper by hand, and then I was actually transcribing it digitally, which was a lot of work, but it definitely helped kind of bake it into my head. And then the next step, so forming mental models. So like noticing what trends that I'm hearing, actively connecting the dots, like really proactively trying to do that, grouping information into themes. And lastly, forming an opinion or a point of view. It's not just noticing things. It's also, what do I think about this? Do I think that it's a good approach or a bad approach, or maybe I'm not sure yet. Maybe I have to get some more information to have an opinion. I think these first 2 steps are something that a lot of people do, right? It's the third one that, at least for me, was a little bit of an aha moment where I was kind of like, if I really want to learn fast, I have to do step 3. I have to be actively broadcasting out what I'm thinking to everyone every opportunity I get. And step 3 really was kind of like the magic piece for me, because every time I was meeting someone new, it was a new opportunity to basically read out, hey, here's my latest understanding of all of those 3 buckets of questions that I had. What do you think? How does that strike you? What am I missing? And it just kind of became a very natural way to get feedback from a variety of people and help me refine my own thinking really fast. So, it's definitely it's a lot of work. It's taken a lot of time and effort to interview a bunch of people and synthesize findings. And I think if all of us on this call were to go through this process, the outcome would look different for everyone probably. One of the things I was really looking for is, how do I add value early? And I think this process has helped me be able to add value really early for my team, and that's been important for me. So one of the things that I noticed is that strategically, I felt the team was very well positioned across all my stakeholders. The understanding of how my team fits into the strategy was rather consistent. The team's own understanding of our mission and our strategy was pretty consistent, and it all kind of made sense. So that was well in place, which is very good. However, on a more tactical side, I started to notice that I felt we could use a little bit more focus. We could benefit from that. We had a lot of projects in flight, and I felt like it was sort of we were being pulled in a number of directions. And so that kind of started to reveal itself to me as one way that I might be able to add value early. And so this is me, week 4, much calmer, no more crazy investigation strings, no cigarettes. And there's a few things I really like about this image. So the first is like this idea of like a child's mind, right? Which I think is something that has been helpful for me, like the newcomer's mind, in order to stay curious and stay interested as I'm meeting everyone and talking to everyone. Another thing that I really like about the image is, she's looking at all these objects and considering each one and then just slowly placing them in each of their buckets, each of their categories. And I feel like on some level, a lot of product management is about organizing and categorizing work, categorizing ideas or initiatives in a way that makes sense to everyone, and also in a way that promotes alignment and focus. And there's just so many different ways of going about that. This is another thing that I believe is, I really feel like the way we organize work impacts what we measure, what we prioritize, and ultimately what success looks like. I think all of those impact each other, but the way that we organize work, I think, really matters. And I don't think there's one right answer for that, but I think it does have implications. And this idea led to another post. So there's dozens of ways to organize work, and they all have pros and cons. And it's not necessarily that picking one is probably the right approach. It's maybe more of a blended approach. You pick a few of these and use them at different times. But you can group work by business objective, which is good for strategic alignment, but might hide the technical complexity. You can group work by metric, retention, activation, etc. You have to have analytics in place to do that. You can group work by user value. That's common. We do it all the time in user stories. Wes actually added another one I thought was great. You can group work by risk. That's smart. I love it. Group work by agile phase, kind of. Is it in discovery or delivery for a really high level view? Group by persona. If you have user research in place and different types of users, that might be useful. You can group by platform, which is a little bit more of an engineering centric view, which could be good or bad. Again, depends on the context. And the last example is by skill set. So that might help with distributing work, but it might not necessarily create strategic alignment. So I think the main point is there's lots of options. Do what works for you, do what works for your team, do what works for your organization. And this is just something that kind of revealed itself to me as an opportunity to enhance how we're thinking about the work we're doing and how we're organizing the work we're doing at my new gig. So I think going through this process and going through the interviews, it really helped me gain a lot of different perspectives, and kind of combining that with this sort of child's mind, newcomer mentality. I was really able to kind of see through the forest a little bit, so to speak, and help the team establish more focus. So that's sort of my win for the month. And in summary, just to kind of read it back out. So my overall process has been, what do I need to learn? And that's the product, the org, and the industry. Who do I need to meet to learn it? That's starting with stakeholders, then moving on to the team, and then lateral peers. How do I learn fast and build trust? It's this learning loop of approaching it as user research, creating your interview guides, connecting the dots, forming mental models, and broadcasting that out every opportunity you get, just to check what people are thinking. And one way that helped me add value early is by just noticing that we can group work in a way and that would create more alignment and more focus for the team so we can be more effective. So with that, I appreciate everyone's time. Thanks so much for listening, and big thanks to Product Camp Dallas for having me out.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Thank you. That was great.